stupid rule did your mom make that destroyed your entire family? I was 16 when my mom made the rule that eventually tore our family apart. It happened because my little brother forgot his lunch at home. Mom drove to his school to bring it to him, but she saw him sitting with friends instead of waiting by the front office. She'd only been 5 minutes late, but she took it personally. That night, she slammed his lunchbox onto the table. If anyone in this family makes plans, changes plans, or goes anywhere without telling me first, there will be consequences. Dad frowned. He's 12. He just sat with his friends. He embarrassed me, Mom replied. That won't happen again. At first, the rule sounded manageable. Then it became impossible. If I stopped for ice cream after volleyball practice, I had to call first. If Dad grabbed coffee after work, he had to text first. If my brother rode his bike to a friend's house without permission, he lost it for a week. Nobody could make a spontaneous decision anymore. One Friday, my best friend Emma invited me to a movie after school. I called Mom. She didn't answer. I texted. No reply. So I came straight home. Emma stopped asking after that. She said, your mom always says no anyway. Dad finally snapped when he was 30 minutes late because of traffic. Mom accused him of lying. She checked his location history and even called one of his coworkers to make sure his story matched. Dad looked completely defeated. I feel like I'm reporting to a prison guard. Mom answered, people with nothing to hide don't mind checking in. After that, everyone started lying. I'd say volleyball practice ran late when I was really eating pizza with classmates. My brother claimed he was studying when he was at the park. Dad stopped mentioning work dinners entirely. Ironically, the rule that was supposed to create honesty turned us into experts at keeping secrets. Then everything fell apart. One afternoon, my grandmother slipped in her kitchen. Dad rushed to help after getting a call from my aunt. In the panic, he forgot to tell Mom where he was. She came home to an empty house and assumed he'd ignored her rule again. Instead of calling him, she turned off the garage remote and locked every door. When Dad finally got home hours later, exhausted after sitting with Grandma in the emergency room, he couldn't even get inside. He stood on the porch holding a hospital bag while Mom yelled through the window, "You broke the rule." Dad quietly held up Grandma's discharge papers. I was helping my mother. For the first time, Mom had nothing to say, but she still refused to unlock the door. Dad spent that night at my aunt's house. A month later, he filed for divorce. The judge asked why. Dad didn't talk about the locked door. He simply said, you can't build a family where everyone is afraid to make a simple decision. My brother and I live with Dad now. If we're running late, we send a text because it's considerate, not because we're scared. Mom still lives in the same house. She says our family fell apart because nobody respected her rules.